morning and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of FightBackMedia.com, FightBackMedia.com, and FightBackMediaTV.com. I am glad that you are with us this glorious Thursday morning. It is Thursday. June 8th, 2023 in the year of our Lord. Hope that you are doing well. Hope that you enjoyed the evening report that we did yesterday. Today's going to be a little different, kind of a throwback to what we did, what we were doing before. I hope you like it too, because there are four stories I think that go together really well that we want to present to you today, having to do with the corners of the nation: Florida, Texas, California, and New York, and how those places are doing. Our governor, Governor DeSantis here in Florida, just signed something called a digital bill of rights for the citizens of the state of Florida, and it is important because of what it does. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Governor Newsom from California is threatening DeSantis because of their these sanctuary states, New York, California, are being basically forced to live up to their press. And boy, they don't like that at all. And while things are going fairly well here in Florida, even with the inflation going on, I mean, inflation is everywhere. Price increases, gas increases, all that stuff. Florida is doing pretty well, and especially I believe, this very forward-thinking digital bill of rights. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Because you're like, what is that about? Okay, the Senate Bill 262 creates what's called a digital bill of rights that includes the following: the right to control personal data, including the right to confirm, access, and delete your personal data from a social platform. So you should be able to, a Floridian should be able to go to Facebook and say, I'm going to get rid of all my data. Get rid of it. Okay. I should have access to it. It also gives the Floridian the right to know your personal data will not be used against you when purchasing a home, obtaining health insurance, or being hired. Like, a lot of times, these companies are in cahoots with the government. They're in cahoots with whomever, using your personal data, the things that you post. Now, we've said this forever. If you are 23 years old, what you can't do if you want to go work for a law firm is post on Instagram how you got blasted and how you tried meth, and that's just stupid, right? And if that law firm checks out your social media platform, that's one thing. But if that law firm or government institution contacts Instagram or Facebook and says, give me that person's file, that's something else different, right? Also, the right to know how the internet search engines manipulate search results. Now, this is going to be super tough, and I'm sure that Google is fighting Florida tooth and toenail, and is going to, because they believe that their methodology is proprietary. And what we know is that search results are manipulated. They just are. With certain things dropping to the bottom of the search engine, results, where they're way down there on page 247, where the things that they want you to see are 1 and 2, right, on the first couple of pages. You should have the right to opt out of having your personal data sold. Now, if you don't mind that you are looking for, I don't know, lawn furniture, and then for the next 6 days, every ad you see is lawn furniture. Every text message you get is about lawn furniture. If you don't mind that, that's cool. If that makes you a little nutty, if that creeps you out a little bit, we should have the option to click the box and say, do not sell my data. Do not sell my data. And Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and whomever should have to, go by that, should have to respect that right. Also, the right to protect children from personal data collection. How the big tech companies are going to, how they're going to differentiate children from other people, I don't know, but they're just going to have to get on it. They're super smart people. They can figure it out. The Senate bill also does this, adds biometric data and geolocation information to the definition of personal data. So, biometric data. Now, if you don't know what that is, on my phone, I have a couple of ways to get in my phone. One of them is, you can't see it. That's my beautiful wife. There's a little place for me to put my thumbnail, biometric. Nope, open it. And there's also a little pattern. A lot of you use a little pattern, right? Also, my phone has to know where it is for it to operate. Now, if I just happen to be standing out in front of, I don't know, Universal Studios, that is personal data. Now, I'm in a public space, but it is personal data. And that should count. It's to ensure that the big tech companies are not collecting that personal information, identifying information, or tracking my day-to-day movements. It also requires Google and other large search engines operating in Florida to disclose whether they prioritize search results based on political or ideological views or monetary considerations. This law is asking for transparency. It also prevents government-led censorship. In Florida, no state or local government employee can coordinate with a big tech company or to police or censor protected speech. So if you are, hammering the school board in Hillsborough County, the school board member can't find Google and say, hey, listen, I want you to put those people aside. No, can't do that. It also protects children's rights, ensures that online platforms providing services, games, or products targeted to children will not collect, sell, or share the personal data of a child. Well, how do they know? Well, they're going to have to find out. That's what's happening here in Florida. Now, at the same time, Governor Newsom of California has tried so hard to bring Governor Ron DeSantis down, criticizing his actions, have turned Florida into a resident hotspot as Californians flee the governor's liberal policies. Newsom's latest attack towards the GOP presidential candidate involves the Democrat Party's open border policies that have caused damaging consequences for the country. 2 flights allegedly arranged by DeSantis, and I'm sure he's sitting home, he's got Expedia open and he's arranging these flights. About 36, now think about this number, 36. The video that you see on the screen are some people who are about to decide to get on a flight. They are filling out a packet of information telling them where they're going and what's going to happen to them. These good people are right now making their way to an aircraft after they have signed their paperwork, and they know exactly where they're going, and they're being treated very well.
Ya llegamos a California, gracias a Dios, vale. Agradecido con Dios.
This group of young people about to aboard a plane are very, very happy. They're waving. They're setting up signs of peace.
¿En ningún momento ustedes se No. Trataban súper bien. Sí.
Sí, lo único que se sientan bien ustedes.
Okay, my English is very bad. It's possible communication. Thank you for my room. My life in the street is very, very heavy, you know. For me, my travel is traumatic. Con Madre Salvatrucha, paramilitares colombianos, carteles. Y that was okay. Thank you for my security. Bueno, no sé si me
Muy cierto, muy bien.
Pero espero que me entiendan y estoy muy agradecido por mi habitación porque estar viajando en la calle expuesto a paramilitares y a Mara Salvatrucha y todo lo que pueda haber en todo Centroamérica. Y llegar a un lugar seguro, conocer gente de frecuencia bonita como ustedes. Estamos muy agradecidos. Ella opina lo mismo que ella. Y seguro a ella. Sí, así es. Gracias por todo.
36, 36 illegal immigrants arrived unexpectedly in the capital of California, Sacramento, from the Texas border, prompting the Democrat Newsom to throw a complete hissy fit. Over 36 people. 36. Newsom took to Twitter to threaten DeSantis with kidnapping charges, calling him a small, pathetic man. This is what he said. Ron DeSantis, you're a small, pathetic man. This isn't Martha's Vineyard. Kidnapping charges? Kidnapping. Okay, here's what didn't happen. They did not force any of these folks by gunpoint onto a plane and drop them off there and say, "Get off the plane. You're in Sacramento." No. These people signed releases. These people volunteered, and they got on these charter flights, and they were thrilled. They were absolutely thrilled. And if you want to see if you want to see a compilation, go to fightbackmediatv.com, and on there, on that website will be a compilation of how not kidnapped. These are some of the least kidnapped people you've ever met in your life. In this video. So the California governor also linked his tweet to a section of the California Penal Code instructing his followers to, quote, read the following. The code section highlighted parts that read, every person who being out of this state abducts or takes by force or fraud any person contrary to the law of the place where the act is committed and brings or conveys that person within the limits of the state and is afterwards found within the limits thereof is guilty of kidnapping. All right, despite Ron not claiming responsibility for the illegal aliens' arrival, in California, the Florida governor has made the Biden border crisis a significant part of his campaign, vowing to close the border once and for all. The response to speculation that DeSantis sent illegal immigrants to California, the 2024 candidate told reporters that Florida is not a sanctuary and will divert the Biden border crisis anywhere he can. I think the border, and this is what DeSantis says, I think the border should be closed. I don't think we should have any of this. But if there's a policy to have an open border, then I think the sanctuary jurisdictions should be the ones that have to bear that. I'll read it again. I think the border should be closed. I don't think we should have any of this. But if the policy is to have an open border, then I think the sanctuary jurisdictions should be the ones to have to bear the brunt of that. We are not a sanctuary in Florida. And yes, we know people want to come, and the more we can divert before we even have to get there is good for our state. In the past, DeSantis has transported illegal immigrants to Democrat cities, bringing the problem they have repeatedly ignored to the doorsteps of the elite. Critics of Newsom's voice, critics of Newsom voiced their opinion on the issue of praising DeSantis for keeping the border problem on America's radar. Chatty Cathy at Kathy Chaslin on Twitter said, "You're talking about Newsom. You are such a loser. You tout being a sanctuary state. Deal with it. God forbid if you ever are in charge of anything besides California. You would ruin the country more than it already is in a heartbeat." Jordan Satchel at Jordan Satchel on Twitter says, "Yeah, everyone left your paradise state because they were kidnapped." Julie Hamill writes from Hamill _law on Twitter, "I'd like to be kidnapped out of California." Stephen One at Deadon775 on Twitter says, "LOL, you offer to pay them when they get to California, and now you're mad when they want to come." It is good. Harry Stodel from Harry Floridian writes, "Ron DeSantis has done so much good for the state. He has been the best governor in a half a century, and I only go back that far because I'm only 57. Budget surpluses, economic growth. He's amazing." Gavin, you are out of your league. Gavin, you are beyond. You're out of your depth. You're out of your league. Focus on California. Focus on California. Focus on the things that need to be fixed in California. Focus on that out of control homeless problem you have in California. Please do, because that's really, really important. California is a beautiful state. Has a lot of natural beauty. California is one of those super cool places where you can ski and then get in your Jeep and then be on an ocean beach in the same day. You can go out in the desert, real desert, and end up in the mountains, camping where it's 50 degrees, in the afternoon or in the evening. Beautiful state. And it's a pig pen. And Gavin Newsom doesn't seem to care. My friend Shirley Huzar was from California. And she ended up, at the end of her life, moving to Texas. It's one of the things that I know that she was sad about. She loved Los Angeles. She loved the people of California. She loved her state. It's beautiful. But she couldn't stay and watch what was happening to it. And I looked at California through Shirley's eyes. How people like Gavin Newsom and leadership in California had over years, primarily because of immigration, had just let it go to pot. It's a shame. It's a shame. I pray that the people of California wake up one morning and say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And choose survival over these ridiculous policies. Choose survival. Choose growth. Choose beauty. But that's not what's happening in New York. I told you. Yeah, there's stuff to talk about. Because this is some dystopian craziness. The liberal city of New York, this is happening in New York City right now, has unveiled vending machines packed full of goodies for drug users who need to get their daily fill. Now, remember how everybody laughed when we said that that Biden was putting together, especially during COVID, stuff for drug users. Remember, everybody went, "Oh, stuff, but that's the silliest thing." New York New York City has unveiled vending machines packed full of goodies for drug users who need to get their daily fill, their daily fix. In New York City, health officials installed big blue boxes featuring affordable drug paraphernalia, including safe sex kits, Naxalone, crack pipes, lip balm, and Narcan. The drug box was very popular with users who cleared the vending machines out by 1 p.m. the day they were introduced. Officials say the devices must be restocked at least twice a day. We have a lot of addicts and heroin users over here. Drug user Evelyn Williams told the New York Post. They should restock it immediately. So instead of candy and chips, New Yorkers could get high for free and have all the sex they want without any age restriction, meaning children could get their hands on such related items. Crack pipes. The best part? Hard-working New York City taxpayers will pay nearly $11,000 per machine for druggies to continue their drug-fueled lifestyles. The first vending machine in Brooklyn does not currently have syringes. However, there's a strong possibility for future machines to have them, syringes, claiming it would make injecting deadly drugs such as heroin so-called safer. Except now you have this machine out there that has these sharps. Now, when I was a youngster, I was a Red Cross volunteer. Now, if you've not heard of volunteers, when we were volunteers or Red Cross volunteers as teenagers, a lot of the guys didn't want to be called candy stripers. You've heard of candy stripers. We did not want to be called candy stripers. Although our smock was blue and white and had pinstripes, as opposed to the pinafores that the girls wore, right? The girls wore these pinafores and with a big either blue and white or pink and white stripes, and that's why they were called candy stripers. They found out early that the guys didn't want to be called candy stripers, so they changed the name to volunteers. Volunteers. We were taught about sharps and what to do if you came across a needle while you were cleaning up a hospital bed, or that's when we got to work in the emergency room. So if you were getting an emergency room bed ready, which was part of our job, you could very well come across a needle or a part of something for an IV, and how important it was to make sure that you didn't get stuck with that. You didn't have any idea what was on the other end. And now New York City is really planning on having a vending machine where anybody can go buy a needle just out there in the open. Yes, people could go and buy needles for diabetic needles. Yes, they're having them out in the street, so anybody can anybody can just go buy them. Do you? Why don't they just have bags of broken glass available? According to the New York City Department of Health, overdose deaths in the city are at an all-time high. In 2021, 82% of overdose deaths involved an opiate. Yeah, fentanyl was the cause of 80% of all overdose deaths. And where is fentanyl coming from? Where's most of it coming from? It's coming across the border, the southwestern border, and most of it's being manufactured in where? Yes, in China. However, not everyone is thrilled about enabling the ongoing drug crisis. This is from Councilwoman Joanne Ariola from Orola, sorry, from a Republican from Queens. She says this: our city should not be commodifying addiction, and anyone supporting these vending machines should be ashamed of themselves. The money the health department is spending on these machines, $11,000 per, which are providing, among other things, free crack pipes to drug addicted individuals, should be spent on rehabilitation, social services to actually help addicts rather than on items like these, which only encourage their addiction. Now, it is interesting that if you're driving down the street in the state of, down my street in front of my house, and you're weaving back and forth, and a police officer pulls you over, and you're dumb enough to let them search your car, and they find a crack pipe within, if they find a crack pipe, that's drug paraphernalia. You're probably going to get locked up. Now, what happens in New York when they say, I just got that from the vending machine that the government sold me? The Post, New York Post, also noticed that a passerby yelled, "You're better off moving that, moving that, and putting an ambulance there." Talking about a vending machine. Despite opposing the legislation of life-damaging drugs, Democrat Mayor Eric Adams signaled his support for safe injection sites, so drug users can shoot up in public without the fear of being arrested. That's New York. My advice: get out. If you're a person who isn't insane, get out. And I know that not everybody can, but if you can, get out. Now, Texas has become the 18th state to pass legislation restricting minors from accessing puberty blockers, hormone therapies, and sex reassignment surgeries, and other irreversible gender transition treatments. So if you're in Texas, the 12-year-old or the 13-year-old can't decide to have her breast chopped off because she's getting picked on. She feels tomboyish. She is struggling to belong to something. No. The new bill signed by Republican Governor Greg Abbott on Friday will take effect September 1st, making Texas the most populated state to ban minors. Minors. Now this is really important. Minors. We're not talking about if you're a 30-year-old adult and you think that having your junk chopped off and getting a wound in form of some sort of vagina will make your mental state better. Now, there's evidence that isn't necessarily going to be the thing, but if you're an adult and you make this decision, that is lovely. My heart goes out to you. I mean, truly it does. Truly it does. But I'm sorry, if you're 16, no, you don't get to make that decision. You make a whole bunch of other decisions about how you carry yourself, socially. But in the meantime, no, you don't get to have your genitals chopped off. You don't get to have you don't get to go through a double mastectomy. No. And I said this before. You guys may remember this idea is that someone has got to be able to stand up and go, no. I know you think You don't think well of me now and you're angry and you're upset, but the answer is no. You don't get to do that as a kid. Sorry. You know, in a lot of places, a kid can't get a tattoo. Now, we know kids have tattoos. So don't come at me like that. I know. But in a lot of places, it's not legal for somebody under the 18 to have a tattoo or rent a car, buy a house, lease an apartment. But irreversible gender reassignment surgery? Yes. At 14 years old? The answer is no. No, not at all. Again, the law will take place, will take effect on September 1st, making Texas the most populated state to ban minors from transitioning before they are of age. Several, of course, LGBTQ plus legal advocacy groups, including Lambda Legal and the American Civil Liberties Union, and its Texas chapter and the Transgender Law Center, help me, are pledging to file lawsuit opposing the law. The group said that the bill bans transgender youth from accessing medically necessary care. No. The bill bans the bill bans the only evidence-based care for gender dysphoria and for transgender people under the age of 18 and aims to strip doctors of their medical licenses for providing their patients with the care they know will be medically necessary. The release said in part, Texas lawmakers have ignored the warnings of transgender youth, their families, and the medical establishment about the harms of this legislation. The only harm that these people don't want to face is the amount of money that they get. I mean, it is huge dollars. Some child going through this this procedure, they could spend easily $1 million. It's incredible. After receiving Senate Bill 14 in mid-May, Abbott was quick to follow in the footsteps of Florida and many other Republican-led states that have outlawed these procedures and treatments for minors. The Human Rights Campaign did a study showing that over half of the states have either approved or considering approving a policy banning gender affirming care for children. Before legislation was passed, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, a Republican, began investigating the Dell's Children's Medical Center in Austin to discover if unlawful gender transitioning procedures were being carried out on minor children. Conveniently, the physicians at the clinic departed before the investigations could be completed. So they quit. Abbott was the first governor to try to undergo an investigation of families receiving care for possible child abuse. Wow. However, the investigations were halted by a Texas judge, according to the Associated Press. The AP added that the state police had forcibly removed the trans rights demonstrators from the Texas House chamber gallery following the bill being enacted. Good. Children in Texas are officially protected from harmful, experimental, medical, Dr. Mengele type surgical procedures for gender dysphoria, said Representative Tom Oliverson, a Republican, said on Twitter. Oliverson said that the bill was written in anticipating court challenges and mentioned confidence that the law would not be overturned. Yeah, start with mental health. Start with what's going on in your noggin to make you feel this way, because this is all how somebody feels, and all the feel stuff is in your head. It's not here. This is not the feel stuff. This is the feel stuff. Why do you feel this way? Why do you think this way? So to simply go along with it and risk putting these dear folks in this lifelong misery. Because the truth of the matter is, it's only cosmetic. And you can pump people full of hormones for the rest of their lives. And women who have been on testosterone for a long time are struggling. They're struggling mentally and they're struggling physically. That's what we do now. That's what we do know. We do know that estrogen in men is not something that you want. That's why all the soy in our food is not good for us, because of the what? Estrogen. That's what we do now, folks. So right now, you've got a pretty good picture of Florida, New York, Texas, California. Tell me what you think. Write it in the comments. Send us an email at fightbackmedia@gmail.com, fightbackmedia@gmail.com, fightbackmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear where you're listening from. We'd love to hear where you're watching. Are you catching us on YouTube? Or are you catching us on Rumble? Or are you catching just the audio podcast? And if you're catching just the audio podcast, what platform are you listening? We'd love to hear. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.